You're good. All right. So again, just go over what we did last time. How long have you been a NASCAR fan for?
For about 5 years.
For about 5. Okay. How many races have you been to so far?
I go to one race per year at MIS for about 5 or 6 years now.
Okay.
I wasn't a NASCAR fan when I went to my first race. I had to go to a race to become a NASCAR fan.
Everyone's got their own way of getting introduced to it.
Yes.
Is it you go to the June or the August?
August race.
Okay. So it's two brawls in 3 weeks with one driver's always been the same one. Should Brad Keselowski get a bigger fine, or should Penske stop backing him for all the trouble he's causing for everyone else?
No, I don't think so. I think that this is what NASCAR wants. I think that they have set this chase format up in such a way to create this tension and excitement and raise the level of intensity, which has definitely happened. People who are more susceptible to being a hothead, format will exploit. And Brad Keselowski's one of those types of drivers. He's very passionate about racing, and he really wants to win. So, this is what NASCAR wanted, and this is what they got.
Do you think that Gordon has a right to be mad? Because it looks like Gordon came on the block. Others say Keselowski was coming up, and then Gordon just didn't know he was there. What do you think on that, on the wreck at the end of the race?
Contrary to what everyone says, I think that what Keselowski did was completely fine. They're going 200 miles an hour. There's two laps to go. Gordon went up the track and left a big hole. He left a big hole there, and when he realized what he did, he tried to cut down, but Keselowski was already there. And hit him in the side of the car. So if he would have hit him like in the front bumper, then it could have been just a mistiming, or really didn't know he was there, or a bad call by his spotter, Gordon's spotter. But the fact of the matter is, he hit him actually in the side of the car, which means Keselowski had the spot, and Gordon left that spot open. So Gordon really, I think if you watch the film, would understand why Keselowski did what he did. And in addition to that, people are thinking that Keselowski's a hothead. He's a very aggressive racer. I think that's what the fans want. But when the race was over, Keselowski didn't throw a punch. He did not argue. He just said, "Hey, I saw an opening and I took it." And that wasn't good enough for Gordon. And Gordon is the one who started the whole melee. So I understand from Gordon's perspective, I still like him, that it was a very unfortunate turn of events. But at 200 miles an hour, you don't even have a second to make a decision. You got a fraction of a second. And Keselowski made a decision that hopefully would have won the race for him. And so that's what he did. And I would have probably did the same thing.
Do you think Harvick would have wrecked Kenseth if he had the chance, knowing that Kenseth wrecked Harvick at Martinsville and knocked him in a big hole in the points? Do you think Harvick, because he raced close to Kenseth a lot of the time in the race, but he didn't take the swing at him, do you think he would have had Kenseth been farther up later in the race?
No, I don't think he would have, because Kenseth and Harvick are both racing for championships. They're both still in the hunt to actually make it to Homestead and race for a championship. So things could very well change this weekend at Phoenix, which should make the race very exciting to watch, because if in the later stages of the Phoenix race, some of these drivers realize they don't have a chance to make it to the next round, because it's the last race of this final round, then people may start taking swings. But in the middle of a race, of the second race of the round, you don't want to take yourself out of contention. So if any of these drivers at Phoenix this Sunday feel like they're out of contention, that they are not going to make it to the final race, then I'm sure huge swings are going to be made from all the tension and the escalation of the intensity. But these drivers are smart too. They're racing for a championship, but when that championship seems like it's not going to be possible this year, I think some swings will be taken.
All right. Fantasy team this week. Any predictions? Who's going to do well? Knowing that you were up to third at one point in the nation. Any predictions this week on who's going to do well? Who's going to have problems?
Well, my goal this year is, the fantasy gods, as I like to say, are smiling on me this year, and I've made some good choices with last-second decisions, and I did get as high as third in the nation. Right now, I'm 95th in the nation. My goal is to finish in the top 100 of the nation. I've done my research, but I pretty much know who's going to do well this weekend. You're looking at Harvick, Johnson, and Gordon will be the big three to be looking at this weekend, and those are my predictions. One last thing with Gordon, who's a fan favorite. You got to remember last year he intentionally wrecked a driver, stayed out on the track in his car when that driver went around. Gordon turned his car sideways and literally hit this guy. So Gordon is not the innocent person that people are making him out to be. They think he's an angel. He's not an angel. I like Jeff Gordon. I think he's a great racer. But I think people are being too hard on Keselowski and not hard enough on Gordon. Gordon has a history of making just as many people mad through his actions as Keselowski does. And Keselowski says, and he was quoted as saying, I would rather have enemies in the NASCAR garage than be sitting home without a job on a Sunday afternoon with friends. So I can fully understand where he's coming from, but I think I'm relatively alone in that thought.
Again, the Gordon, due to fights, it looks more like Harvick instigated the fight by shoving Keselowski towards Gordon at the end.
Interestingly enough, I read some articles on this because I saw that as well, and I was wondering during the race what Keselowski did to Harvick because I didn't see anything occur during the race. Well, it turned out Harvick said that he was tired of Keselowski's crew fighting his battles for Keselowski, and Keselowski wasn't getting in the mix. So Harvick came up from behind and pushed Keselowski in an effort to make him fight his own battles. I don't agree with that. I think that was wrong. I think Keselowski's got to be careful with his sponsors, and because of what happened 2 weeks ago, he did not want to push the envelope too far. I think he did really a admirable job of everything that was going on. Keselowski never threw a punch. He never argued. He never swore. He never got in anyone's face. He just took the lumps that came his way, which I don't think were justified. And Harvick, again, when the race was over, said, hey, I would have did what Keselowski did, but he needs to fight his own battles. So Harvick decides to come over and push Keselowski in the back to start a fight.
Well, in all fairness, Keselowski really was the instigator of the fight at Charlotte because of all the people he tried wrecking after the race was over. You saw Kenseth's reaction coming up and actually just basically trying to headlock the dude as he ran by,
Right.
So you could argue Keselowski isn't as innocent as he seems. Just from the Charlotte incident. This past incident, I agree. That's not
But that
his
just
fault.
tells you he's learned what he's not someone who's going to keep just flying off the handle. He learned at Charlotte that he doesn't want that to happen again. And so instead of letting it happen again, he didn't. So at the heat of the moment, with all that melee going on and with all those punches being thrown, that he learned enough from the Charlotte race that he did nothing. He just literally stood there and let whatever happened to him happen to him. He didn't get into a fight. He didn't swear. He didn't even in the interviews put anybody down. He didn't swear at anybody. He didn't call anybody names. So it just tells me again that he learned from Charlotte and he did not want to repeat what he did and learned his lesson. And isn't that what we all hope for?
It's kind of ironic. The two guys that needed to win at Talladega and didn't get in are now winning the next two races.
Right.
Like you don't say too little, too late. Junior gets it at Martinsville, and Johnson gets it at Charlotte. So do you think that? Just the irony that now these guys that are out of the chases should not be up at the front. They don't need to be competing as hard for position. They're up there winning these things now.
Yeah, but I just think that they're trying to prove a point. They want to end their season on a high note. People have asked me why these other cars even race in a race. Well, why do the Houston Astros continue to play the last 30 games of a baseball season when they're 25 games out of first? That's very normal in sports. When a team is 1-15 in football, or 1-10 maybe, they keep playing and they finish out their schedule, and that's what these drivers are doing. So if you're going to be there, you might as well try to win. And these guys love to win, and it's a big thing for them to win, and they want to prove a point to others, whatever their motivation is. But just like any athlete, at this level of sport, they're going to be super competitive. They're going to go out and win. Because Johnson could have tried to let Gordon win last weekend, and he didn't. Johnson went for the win, and he won the race. Johnson could have done something to save Gordon and let Gordon win that race because they're teammates, and he didn't.
Same we said about Junior, because Gordon finished second to Junior.
Yep,
Martin's was
exactly.
same argument. In fact, for a while, I thought Junior was going to pull over and let him go when he was catching him so much. But
Yep, this new format is very exciting. It's very intense. You don't know what's going to go on. Gordon in this race on Sunday had about a mile lead with about 5 laps to go, and he ends up finishing 20.